a thumb drive.
Yeah, we'll do a save game of this career.
And when we get the technology, we'll bring you out.
I really liked. I liked the idea they played with in that about the program actually gaining sentience and stuff. And the actor playing Moriarty, I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, because he was talking about he's like what's life like? I feel alive. Right. I act like I'm alive, and the whole time he's like looking at Pulaski. He's like, so stop being a dick to my robot friend.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's a good episode. I think this might be one of my favorites so far.
It's pretty good.
Except for the ending, as far as dramatically, Data not getting, it becoming a Picard story in the last third felt kind of like, oh, well, he's the star of the show, so they kind of have to bring him in and, kind of like Kirk always has to save the day at the end, or kiss Uhura, or whatever.
or whatever. Our last episode this week, The Outrageous Okana.
This was fun.
This is what happens when Captain Jack Harkness of Doctor Who fame arrives on the Starship Enterprise.
That's exactly what I thought.
Right?
It's the same character, but with a ponytail.
They look a lot alike, too, those two guys.
I thought Okana looked a little bit more like Mac from It's Always Sunny, but with a ponytail. He's kind of got the puffy face and the stubble.
Doesn't really have a puffy face.
No, you don't think so?
He has a pretty trim figure.
Well, I mean, puffy for a trim guy. Like, Joshua Jackson kind of has that puffy face going, even though he's not fat.
I don't think so at all.
You're not a fan? You're not a fan. You are a fan.
I don't think that's
You
true.
think he's handsome?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a handsome boy.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But, so he is, the Wikipedia entry describes him as a flamboyant space rogue. He's like Captain Jack Harkness, or maybe Corsair. He's a space pirate from the Starjammers.
He's sweeter than Han Solo. Like, he's a charmer from the get-go.
He's
Corsair.
He's got a, he's a space equivalent of, stranded on the highway with his hood up, like standing, like shrugging his shoulders as smoke bellows from the engine.
Yep.
So the Enterprise finds him. They're like, "Oh, we can help you fix your ship." And he's like, "Dope, thanks, appreciate it." And immediately, he's charming as all get out.
Right. Troy is charmed by him right away.
Yeah.
Like, they all admit he's a rogue. They use the word rogue in the opening scene, but even Riker smiles anytime the guy talks. He's like, "God damn."
He's like, "Ah."
I don't swing that way, but you make me want to.
So he shows up. Terry Hatcher is there.
The Lois Lane of my childhood.
And he spits some game at her, and she rebuffs him. He gives her a line. He's like, and she says, "I'm sure it wasn't I'm sure that wasn't true when he said it to any of the other ladies as well."
Yeah, that's right.
And then, but later, he rolls up into her place, into her room, and she's waiting for him in a bathrobe.
When Data drops him off at his room.
And of course, he takes the shine of Data. Everyone loves Data,
right?
I guess,
except for Pulaski.
She's an asshole.
She is a dick.
So Geordi's helping fix the part of his ship that's broken, and Okona's going around just charming the pants off everybody, figuratively. In many cases, quite literally in a couple of cases.
Yes. In at least 3 cases, we find out later.
3?
It's mentioned that he's fraternized with at least 3 different members of the crew.
Because I knew there was Terry Hatcher. There was the one that he was with when Worf
comes to get him.
Okay.
So there's another one in there we don't know about. So look.
Fanfic.
Yeah, I was going to say look for my fanfic to be posted on the Into Dorkness page in the next few weeks.
Maybe it's Pulaski.
That'd be fucked up. He's like, "You should really be nicer to Data," and she's like, "I'd still rather not."
I'd still rather be an asshole. So while they're doing this, 2 different ships show up, and they're like, "We want Okana." They're both like, "We want him."
Right.
And the first one's because he knocked up my daughter and skipped town.
Yep.
The sheriff's daughter. And then the other one's he stole a jewel from us.
He stole the family jewel.
Yeah, he stole the family heirloom. And so Picard's like, whoa. I had no idea this dude did any of this stuff.
We just thought he was charming.
Yeah, we just thought he was a charming dude. And so Worf gets him. Worf wants to fight him, but can't because he's under orders.
Right.
And as much as I love Worf, I don't think he could have beat him up.
You don't think so?
Worf's always getting his ass kicked. Always.
Is he really? I hadn't thought about that.
Yes. So they show up and they're like, "We want him," and Okona's like, "Yeah, dude, I don't." And this whole time, okay, so this main plot ends with it being revealed that Okana didn't knock up the daughter.
Actually, he's a sweetheart.
He didn't steal the jewel, but in fact, there's the guy,
a Romeo and Juliet situation.
Yeah, there's these Montagues and Capulets fighting.
Space Montagues
And space Capulets, and the son gave the jewel to the girl, and he's like, "Hey, I knocked you up out of wedlock. This is."
Well, he was supposed to, and that's what Okana was traveling to give her. Whenever his shit broke, because he does have it.
Yeah, and so.
And once you give the jewel, that's the stating intent to marry.
And so, and the parent, they're like, "We didn't think you'd understand, Dad." And they're like, all right, fine. And they're arguing. They're like, "Well, we can't wait to get back to the planet so you can give birth." Like, my grandson isn't gonna live on that planet. Your grandson? You mean my grandson? And Picard is just like, "You guys,
get off my ship!" Right? Doesn't he say you can finish this somewhere else?
Picard is not having it at all. And there's a subplot to this episode.
Yes, it starts when Data's escorting Pulaski to his quarters. Okona's, yeah. And
Okana makes a joke about something, and Data's like, "I don't know what," and he's like, "It's a joke, man." And he's like, "Oh, it's
a bon mot." Yeah,
he's like a joke. He's like, "I didn't laugh. I'm not laughing." And he's like, "Well, yeah, because you're a weirdo.
Because you're not human."
Right, Pulaski?
Pulaski out, yeah! Like Jay in Clerks.
And so he's trying to figure out how to be funny. He hangs out with Joe Piscopo.
Yeah, he goes to the holodeck and is like, "Give me Joe Piscopo.
Give me the best freaking comedian ever."
Do they give him Louis C.K.?
No.
Do they give him George Carlin?
They give him George Burns. They give him the Marx Brothers. They give him any number of comedians.
Right. Lenny Bruce.
The Bruce. Andy Kaufman. They give him Joe Piscopo.
You get what you get on a budget, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like Netflix instant, right? You know, you're not always going to get the best stuff. Sometimes you just get what's on there.
And so Joe Piscopo tries to teach Data how to be funny, how to make jokes.
How to do stand-up.
Pretty much. And so,
which gives Brent Spiner a chance to really silly it up.
Yeah, he does ham it up. It's a lot of fun. Ham it up, yeah. He goes to Whoopi to try it out, and she doesn't laugh.
She's like, "You killed the joke."
Yeah, you spoiled it. And she makes a joke. She's like, "You're an android. I'm annoyed." And he's like, "Why are you annoyed?" He's like, "No, it's a joke. I'm annoyed, like a humanoid." And he's like, "Oh, ha 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 ha."
Yeah.
I love his like forced fake laughter. It's so creepy.
It is very creepy. It's the laughter of a serial killer trying to lure sex murder victims back to his lair.
So he goes back to the holodeck to perform like a
show.
A 15-minute set.
Right. He's got a solid 15. He's been working on his Jerry Lewis impression with Joe Piscopo.
That was insane.
Was Piscopo known for impressions? Was that his sort of...
I don't know.
Like, I've never seen any of his SNL work or anything.
Neither have I.
Like, I only knew the name because Bart Simpson said it on an episode of The Simpsons where he's watching Tuesday Night Live.
Yeah. And
they're making fun of how bad the show is. Krusty's got the
giant Q-tip.
He's like, this goes on for 15 minutes.
And he says, "I miss Joe Piscopo." Yeah. So they... So then basically the holodeck crowd is programmed to laugh at anything Data does.
He figures it out. First, yeah, he sounds like Alan Alda doing Groucho Marx.
Yeah, and with a George Burns cigar.
Yeah.
And
the crowd loves it.
Yeah, so he's like doing little bits, and then he turns and gives a thumbs up to Joe Piscopo and Whoopi, and they laugh at that, and then he does that. And then he gives a thumbs up to the crowd, and they laugh. And
they're like falling out of their chairs
And he said, "When I was a kid, I was so ugly," and then everyone's like, "Ah!" Ha, 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 before they laugh at the setup,
right?
And then he realized it, and I couldn't stop laughing at his delivery The joke is like, when I was a kid, I was so ugly that my parents had to tie a stake to my neck so the dogs would play with me. And instead, the delivery is, when I was a kid, I was so ugly that my parents had to tie a stake to my neck so the dogs would play with me.
It's very sad.
Which is funnier to me. It's like he's realizing, like, exactly, like, how
he has failed.
How awful his upbringing was. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's like realizing suddenly, oh my god, I had an awful childhood. This isn't
Oh
funny.
my god.
Oh shit. Bring up the therapy program.
It's kind of like how I told you that story, that Mexican folklore, La Llorona, the crying woman.
Yes.
Well, when I was a kid, when we went to the beach, my mom told me the story. It's called La Llorona, which means the crying woman. And basically, the story is that this poor woman fell in love with this young, handsome, rich man, and she got pregnant. He knocked her up in the child sense.
Yes.
But he was like, I can't, this was just, I was slumming it.
Right.
I can't be a part of this.
This was just spring break.
Yeah, like this is just woo, spring break. So you're on your own, Missy. And so she has these two kids. She had twins, a boy and a girl. And she's like, I can't let them live this life. Like, I live in squalor. I live in poverty. I want to save them from that. And she takes them out to the ocean and drowns them. And as she's walking back to the beach, she realizes no, I can't do this. I can't do this. So she dives in after them to save them, but it's too late. They've already died, and she ends up drowning herself. And so the story is that she walks the oceans, crying for her children, saying where are my children? Where are my children?
And snatching other
children. And kids who go out too far, she'll see you and say, there you are, and pull you under.
That's creepy.
And that's what my mom told me as a child when we went to Galveston, so I wouldn't get too far out into the ocean.
She told it to you like it was real.
Yeah, I'm 7 or 8.
That's fucked up.
I'm maybe a year or two removed from believing Santa Claus is real. So
right.
Shit like that, it's still
it has power.
I don't have that. I don't have a firm grip on reality that I would soon get as a teenager. And so I remember telling you this story, and you're like, "That's super fucked up," and I'm like, "No, it's fine." I'm like, "What?" Well, I was 7 or I guess so. Telling a child that, and I told this to a coworker as well. I was like, "That's kind of messed up, right?" That my mom would tell me that, and he's like, "No, not really. I mean." He's like, wait, how old were you when she told you this? I'm like, I don't know, 7 or 8. He's like, oh yeah, that's super messed up for sure.
Thanks, Mom.
But yeah.
So yeah, Data figures out it's a program.
Yeah, why did I start talking about that?
The punchline, realizing that you have a terrible childhood because of the way Data.
Oh yeah.
Data's coming to terms with the fact that the program's a program. It's always interesting to me that Data, who has all the ship's knowledge, can still be surprised by things it does. That there are still things he doesn't know.
Well, just little nuances,
Well, and yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that next week, because I already watched the first episode for the next week, but we'll talk about that next week.
Next week, Loud as a Whisper, The Schizoid Man, Unnatural Selection, and A Matter of Honor.
That one sounds good. That one sounds like a Worf episode.
It's a Riker episode.
Interesting.
Yeah, we don't get a Worf episode until the Royale, and even then, it's Riker, Data, and Worf.
Mm.
We don't get a...
No, Worf will come into his own.
Yeah, we don't get a full-on Worf episode until late in Season 2 with the Emissary.
Damn.
Yeah, I know! So you saw Pacific Rim.
Twice.
I
saw it Monday and then the following Saturday.
Well, you loved it, obviously.
I did.
How did it hold up the second time?
I caught a lot more of it because I saw it in the IMAX, and it's so loud and just overpowering that there were things I didn't catch. I didn't realize, we're going to talk spoilers, so if you're going to see the movie, don't listen to this. And I mean, you can pretty much dip out now.
I mean, even if you haven't seen the movie, and I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about it, talk about the plot. I mean, it's
still worth seeing.
You get you can get the plot. You get some crazy monsters show up, we build robots to fight them, we're going to end up winning the day.
Yeah.
Humanity wins the day.
Yeah.
It's not anything crazy.
Right. Like I didn't catch things like the Crimson Typhoon actually had a crew of 3. Somehow I missed that in the